Is it possible to reverse diabetes and lose weight, reverse that obesity? Well, we have a couple of folks here that are going to tell you, yes, it is. You're going to hear how they did it. Coming up in just a moment, we're going to meet Dick and we're going to meet Coach Juan in just a moment. But I want to introduce you to my co host for this new series that we're doing on tackling obesity, tackling diabetes, two major epidemics in our country that medicine, we can't depend on it to solve. We need digital platforms. The ADA came out with 2026 guidelines for standard of care for diabetes, and they are doubling down on digital platforms. That's why I'm excited about John Wordin, or who we call JW, and his Life Aid platform, which is helping veterans and even civilians who find the platform to reverse their diabetes, to lose weight, to get their mental health in check so they can sustain these great healthy lifestyle modifications that he is helping to instill through his platform. Also joining us alongside JW is Brianna Garcia. She is a fashion model, passionate about health and wellness, and she and JW are going to be hosting a brand new podcast focusing on making America healthy again, coming up on their YouTube channel as well. They're going to tell you about it. But first, geez, thanks everyone for being here. Excited about this conversation, a first in our series here on the Global P.A.D. Association's YouTube channel, ultimately on your channel as well for Life Aid. But JW, what do we got going on? Why are we even doing this?
Well, because at Life Aid, our whole program is about mind, body, and spirit. How do we can improve people's health through holistic health and well-being, and how we can really we have to get uncomfortable in order to transform our lives. And so what we have here is a couple of great case studies of how people have done it through the Life Aid program. And then we're going to get into a variety of topics around the MAHA, or Make America Healthy Again. Everything from food is medicine to surviving trauma to caregivers to you name the topic, we're going to cover it. And we really appreciate Juan and Dick being on today.
And I want to give a quick reminder. I just want to give a quick reminder. This is not a political podcast. And so you can reserve those comments. Those of you who are joining in and suddenly, don't agree politically with Make America Healthy Again because of the politics. No, we're not here talking about vaccines. We're talking about true health and wellness, the little things you can do to change the course of your life and live a longer, healthier life with better choices for exercise, as well as diet, even supplementation, and also choosing who you're going to be around to support you in this journey to health and wellness. So just want to make that very, very clear. And JW, you want to introduce Brianna?
Yeah, I'm happy to host or announce my co-host here on Hope Springs Eternal. Welcome, Brianna Garcia.
Thank you, JW. So
and share
nice
your YouTube channel. Yeah. Share your YouTube
our
channel.
YouTube channel is Life Aid Hope. So go to YouTube and type in Life Aid Hope or at Life Aid Hope, and you'll find our YouTube channel, and we're carrying this podcast live there.
And Brianna, just before we get started in introducing, you're just really passionate. What got you interested in the health and wellness space to the point that you want to be at the forefront, pioneer in spreading awareness of the next generation of healthy options for people across the globe?
I mean, I feel like it's super important. I mean, I'm a huge advocate within my family, and they all know this too, just because I've been front and center in the fashion industry. So I've been exposed to a lot of tips and wellness, and just people who also don't choose the better route. And so I was able to see that very firsthand and, kind of learn what not to do. And so, I mean, just with myself, with my body, I've always been super health conscious and just wanting to feel better every single day. So I've had to start from the inside out. And so really implement fitness and food as medicine, because food is medicine. And so
Yep.
I definitely feel the difference. And so I feel like it's very, very, very important, especially to have that balance between, food and everything else. But I definitely will always, always, always tell people that, I mean, in order to feel better, you have to eat better, you have to drink your water, you have to pay attention to your body, you have to be very self-aware. And so little by little, it's a huge change, lifestyle change, but it is a lifestyle. And the more you cater to your own needs and your body, the better you're going to feel, and your mind is going to be healthier. And so it all
Yep.
starts with food is medicine. Also, I'm huge into meditation and taking care of my own mind and being super self-aware. And so I'm a huge advocate for that space too.
I love it. So I can't wait to hear your questions, your insights as we go along this journey where we introduce you to a couple of these incredible men who are going to share how they've made healthier choices and made a huge impact on their lives using JW's platform, the LifeAid platform. JW, what does the platform consist of that really helped Coach Juan as well as Dick in their journey? And then we'll take it where you want to go with whichever guest first.
Yeah, so I mean, it's pretty simple at the end of the day, right? It's like I said before, it's how do you get people uncomfortable in order to transform their life? And then the way that we got people uncomfortable was getting them to do something that they hadn't done in a long time, something that they may have thought that they couldn't do. And it's all about diet, nutrition, exercise with a huge social safety net or peer support component.
And so you started, with military. Why don't we start with the military first? I'd like to bring in Coach Juan, I think, first. Because I see his contagious smile over there, and I know he looks like he's itching to share. And before we got started, he was saying that, Coach Juan, you were on 15 medications before starting your journey with JW and the LifeAid platform. What were you on these medications for?
So I got shot in the leg in Iraq, so it shattered my femur into 5 pieces. So I was my shoulder, I had a torn labrum, TBI from an explosion. So at the beginning of the week, my vehicle got hit with an IED. So the explosion hit my head, and at the end of the week, I got shot in the leg. So it was a pretty
That was a tough
eventful
week.
week. It was a pretty eventful week in the office. But then after that, I ended up at Walter Reed, and with all the surgeries and going with everything. Then you have like the mental issue, you have your physical issue. So then they started giving me all these pills, and me being the soldier I was, I'm listening to these doctors and telling me like these are things. I'm pretty sure I think these things were supposed to be like only supposed to be at that time, like short time,
Yeah.
but not full term. And where I then became dependent on the pills, and it was always seeking like I need the Oxycontin, I need the ibuprofens, I need the things for my head. But then they would always come out with extra stuff that affects that. Then I
Yep.
would need another set of pills to then do or take. So and I ended up with 15. And luckily, one day I was sitting at the Malone house, sitting there just depressed, not happy with my life, 350 pounds. And here comes John Wordin with his biking thing. And he's like, hey, you want to get on a bike? And I'm like, who are you? Who are you? I don't even know this tall man coming to me like, come get on a bike. And I'm like, all right, I'll get on a bike. And I did it for spite at the time. He'll tell you, I did it for spite. I did it because I thought he was trying to clown me and everything. I'm from New York and I'm Dominican. So I'm thinking, he's trying to clown me. Huh?
Honesty. Totally love his. He was just trying to clown me.
Yeah, like he was trying to clown me. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna get on this bike, fall, and I'm gonna sue you and take all your money. Da 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 da. Right? But I got on the bike, and me being the person that I know I am, I tried it, and I'm like, and I fell. But you know, I'm like, let me give it another try. And then I tried it again. And then next thing you know, I'm doing a bike ride from here to Virginia Beach, from DC to Virginia Beach. And And that first year was tough. I got off that bike so many times. I got on the van, and I just sit there, and I was struggling, and just mentally, I'm like, why am I here? I could be in my room taking. But it kept me going. So it was just great.
That's incredible. So, but it wasn't just about that 1 week, right? Did
No,
you had you been on a bike before?
before that, no. Before that, no.
Oh, really? That was your first time.
Well, yeah. I grew up in New York. We didn't have money for a bike. We were very poor.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
bicycles and stuff like that. So I didn't like have a bike, but I've always seen him and I always wanted to. And he said, "Hey, come ride with us." And I'm like, I took a chance. And one of the best decisions that I've ever done in my entire life, because I got to meet him. I also got to meet Seabass, which they call him that, but Dick. And he
Yep.
became such a great mentor for me, because even in the bike rides, we would ride and he would talk to me and give me encouragement and ask me like, what do you want to do for your life? And I'm like, I remember one of the rides, we just sat there and talked while we're riding for about like 2 hours, just back and forth.
Wow.
And I told him what I wanted to do in my life, and he just encouraged me and gave me that belief, which was amazing.
Oh, Dick, we got to bring you in. Seabass. I'm just going to call you Seabass if that's okay. Um,
Okay.
so what was it like meeting? Tell me your first impressions of Coach Juan. Because I know you have your own story, but I would love to hear how you two met and what that conversation was like and how it evolved.
Well, all of this happened because of John Wordin. So that's the beginning of everything. Is JW. I know you don't want to talk about politics, but a lot of things just start with Trump now. People don't like that or do like it, whatever. But he's the center of it. Well, John's the center of everything that's happened with his group. So it starts with
Yeah.
him. I saw on I was watching the Tour de France 15 years ago or something, and I saw, it wasn't on TV then, I was on the internet. And to make a difference in the life of a wounded warrior, ride your bicycle from San Francisco to Los Angeles. And it was a link to click on during the Tour de France podcast or whatever they called it then. And so I clicked on it. I said, yeah, I can do that. I wonder what these people are like, you know. So I ended up going up there and doing the ride, and we did 37 rides together, something week-long rides. And on one of those rides, and I think the fifth or sixth ride or something, Juan came along, and my first impression of Juan, he's big. He was one big man on a very little bicycle. It looked like kind of like a bull on an ant. And I that when you go from San Francisco to Los Angeles, you go up a Big Sur, and you have miles long hills that take you a half an hour to get up, literally a half an hour, and then 2.5 or 3 minutes down because you're going so fast. And Juan was 300 pounds of physics work, so he was going a lot faster than everyone else. And then you got to go up the next hill for another half an hour. I said, this guy's not built for hills. If anything, he's a diesel engine for flat, pulling everybody else. When you're going up hills. Anyway, I met Juan, and we became great friends. Been to my home several times, met my family, and we all get together just great, even though we're 3,000 miles away or something. I'm in LA and area, and he's in New York.
Yeah.
And so, Coach Juan, do you remember anything specific? I mean, he added 50 pounds to what you'd said you weighed at the time.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
anyone caught that, but
No, I was big. I was 350 pounds.
You were 300, yeah.
Yeah, I was 350
Oh
pounds.
yeah, easily
Yeah.
350. We have pictures, so we know the truth.
Yeah, and it's just when I got to meet John and I got to see the person that he really cared, because a lot of people would go through Walter Reed and not, they would say all these things and everything, but John was about it. Like, he was just about it. And then I got to meet Seabass at the ride, and I just saw, like, man, this guy is awesome. He has his van and and he was always taking pictures and talking with the guys and just being like, we all we like to say he was like the dad of everybody, because he was like, he almost felt like he was our dad, and he was taking
Yeah.
care of us. We needed something, we needed to hang out with him or just hang out at the scan van. It was just you can't replicate what that was, because it was just amazing. But we will definitely try to replicate it again. But it was an amazing time, and I got to meet a lot of great people, and these two have been just an amazing two people in my life, which I owe them a lot, because if it wasn't for them, I can tell you, I can be serious right now. I can tell you right now, I probably would have committed suicide and just ended it, because that's where I was heading.
And so when you did the ride, and then what was it like at the end of the ride? I mean, you met Seabass, you hung out with JW, you completed this ride. A lot of people would have been intimidated, right? Being, 350, 400 pounds, um, and said, God, I couldn't keep up. I'm embarrassed. I'm a
No, yeah,
military
yeah,
guy.
no.
Hoorah.
Yeah, I was all of that you were saying, you hit it on the nail, because I didn't finish any. So every day you have about 25 miles. I didn't finish. I had to get on the van. And I looked at myself that day and I said, and I went to John and I went to Seabass and I went to a bunch of people and I said, I'm not getting off that bike next year. And I trained and trained and trained and went back and told them, hey, it gave me a purpose. It gave me a purpose. It gave me a purpose, which that's what I was needing. My purpose was, when I was in the Army, was to go to Iraq and protect and do the thing. That got taken away from me, and I had no purpose. And the purpose should have been, I want to heal, but in my head, I was like, oh, I failed, I'm miserable, but then they said, you know what? My purpose is to stay on this bike, which then all year long just sat in my head. And all I kept thinking is like, I got off the bike, I'm not getting off the bike. And it motivated me. So then the next year I did it and I did not get off that bike. And I was so happy. And then John gave me a bike after that, because he said, if next year you do it, I'll give you a bike. And he gave me a bike. And I still have it. I still have it right here. And
Oh my gosh.
I love that thing with all my heart. I appreciate what they've done to me. And I always come back to them. If they ever need anything from me, wherever I'm at in my life, I will gladly be there for them, because they gave me my second life.
So purpose is really key, and I'm curious, for every person, purpose is different. And JW, with your program, what is it about your program and the cycling helps give the people who use your platform and participate in your program purpose?
Yeah, so first of all, cycling is an exercise that anyone can do. Um, the way I describe my program is everybody remembers the first day when they were a kid, when they rode their bike for the very first time without training wheels, where their parent was holding the saddle and then they kind of just sort of pushed them off. And then all of a sudden the kid just takes off, and that you get the wind in your face, that freedom, the independence, the just, okay, I'm a badass and here we go. Everybody remembers the first day that they rode without training wheels. And the way that I recruited guys like Juan out of the hospital was, that's what this ride is like every single day. And I think that's really the key. Was we built all these custom adaptive bikes for all the different amputees, and it didn't matter what your condition was. It didn't matter anything about where you were at in your life, but you were welcome. You felt like you had a place. And then the whole hope and purpose together was our mantra. So, that's why we have the record we have, where, with more than 30,000 participants over the last 17 years, we've only had one suicide.
Seabass, do you want to weigh in here? Because I think it would be really important to have you reflect upon, that moment when Coach Juan shared that with you and how gratifying that was. And I'm curious, your belief in that moment, is he going to do it? Will he accomplish what he set out to do?
Most of the veterans, Juan is not unique in that respect. Most of the veterans, when they put their minds to it, they do it. It's getting them to the point where they make the commitment and the believing that they can do it.
Yeah.
And the cycling program that John has is that the cycling is the plate upon which all the real good stuff is served.
Mhm.
One thing the cycling does is it those with anxiety and whatever it reduces that, because when you're working as hard as these routes are and at the speed at which we go, you're going to be tired. So that helps with anxiety. When you're suffering along someone else, going up these hills like Juan was, thinking about, do I have to get off the bike or not? When you've got a buddy, whether he's a civilian or another veteran, you're getting respect for him, and you have the same feeling, I've heard, because I'm not military, that you have when you're in the theater with your
Yeah.
buddy. You're suffering together. Something that they could not duplicate anywhere else in the civilian world, but on one of John's rides. Those rides were not easy rides. They were not cakewalks. They were work for anyone who rode a bike. So I think that the cycling brought all those other things together. The fact that we got along in a scan van together, we sometimes had 20 people, literally 20 people in my 28-foot RV.
Or
until
more.
3 in the morning, or more, because not only the camaraderie, the stories, and these were all
Yeah.
strangers. These weren't people that knew each other before the ride. They're all strangers. Most
Yeah.
of them had anxiety. Most of them were on meds, but they found out, hey, he's got the same thing, and I see Brittany here. She's got the same, they got all these issues, all the same people. She's female, I'm male. Didn't matter. We all got the same stuff going on. So,
Yeah.
that's what I had to say about Juan, and the moment that I knew that he was going to do it, because he made his mind up to do it. But the program helped him make his mind up. That's the point I'm making.
So, Coach Juan, being in the military, and I hear this from so many of my patients or clients that I work with who are military veterans, that they're taught to respect authority, and doctors are authority figures. What did it feel like for you to have these almost, it seems like conflicting sets of folks here? You have the traditional authority, the one in the white coat, right? Offering you all of these medications, these 15 medications, and saying, this is going to solve your problem, but it didn't. And then in comes JW, who's not a doctor, who's a cyclist, who says, I can solve your problem. Just trust me. And ultimately, it was the one over here without the medical degree that had the greatest impact on your life. And it's not, this isn't to diminish what our medical system does, that it helps so many people.
Yes.
But for you in
They
your
did.
situation,
When you're
how, yeah, how did that affect you? How did you weigh those two situations and those scenarios? Did it kind of mess with your mind a little bit?
It did mess with my mind, because in a sense I was told, like, oh, the doctors, my mom would always say, the doctors know better, you got to take your medicine. Da, da, da. So when I got shot, all my head is like, I want to get back to mission. I want to get back. So you're telling me if I take all these things and everything, I'll be able to get back to Iraq, and and just be back to me. Because at the time I was young, all I wanted to do was be 100% again. But
Yeah.
knowing now, you're never going to be 100% back to who you were. You're just going to be who you are now. And how can we
Yeah.
be the best person of that? So when I started seeing where, like, okay, these things are not happening, because I can tell you right now, look, they still sending me. I got 1, 2, 3.
Oh
4.
no.
These are the ones that I keep sending. I don't take them, but I gotta get them because the VA sends them to me.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
like, that's the, and
That's
to
your
tell you, I
scripts.
didn't even plan that. I didn't plan that. I just have them here and I don't open them because I don't want to go back to that. I had the one for depression, the one for suicide, the one for my leg. the one for my back, the one for the shoulder, the one, and it's just, it piled up. But I never felt like I was getting better. It just felt like I was just stagnant.
I wonder for you if it was when you deal with traditional medicine and all of these pills and the person in the white coat, you don't feel like you're in control,
No.
right, of your own destiny. You have to depend on this. And what I'm seeing, what I'm hearing is JW and the support from CBAS and everyone else in this Life Aid program actually empowered you. They put the control in your hands. If
Yes.
what you put in is what you get out.
Yes. Boom. Put that on a shirt. Thank you. Yes. Well, you
That's
put it.
exactly what it was.
I believe in that. As a coach, as a volleyball coach, I believe that you have to put in what you get out. And what I found out with my 350 pounds is like I had to do it like not necessarily. I go to doctors and I check up with them and tell them what I'm doing and hey, this and that, and they help me. But back then it was a lot of like coddling. They felt they needed to coddle us veterans, where we felt okay. JW came in there, threw us on a bike, and they thought like they're just gonna throw him in the middle of the street. And like the logistics were good, everything was good, but we had to do something hard, like we were talking about earlier. We have to do something hard for us
Yeah.
to like level up or achieve.
Rise.
You have to do something hard. Anything in this world, we have to do the way you got here, the way you got to this podcast, the way John got to where he got to be, the way where she got to be a model, where the way Seabass built business, the way we have gone through our life, we had to do a lot of hard stuff to get where we're at. So yes, I agree. Like I needed John to kick my ass and put me there so then I can then almost jumpstart. You know how you jumpstart a car? He came in and jumpstarted me so then I can keep going.
And at what point, what was that aha moment where you realized that "Oh, shit, this is working? I'm losing weight, I've lost the weight. I'm me.
My
This is
second ride,
who I am and I'm happy with it."
my second ride, the second time I did the ride and I didn't get off the bike and I just came off of that, I went around, gave everybody a hug and just, I cried. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna hold you. I shed a tear. I'm like, because I started seeing my old self again.
Yeah.
I started losing weight. I started seeing the soldier that I was. That's what I felt. And that's when I knew, I'm like, this is something that's gonna stick. You know when something sticks, right? When you do it and you're like, this sticks. I'm gonna do this. And I believe in this. And this is why I'm here. This is why I love this.
Wow. I see a strong exclamation point right there on that. Thank you, Coach Juan, for sharing your story. Would love to, keep following your journey going forward. And please continue to weigh in because I want to shift over to CBAS, and because I hear that, you know, the program for you helping all of these veterans, that is not just the reward that you've gotten out of the program. You've also gotten a lot out of this program as well. Would you mind sharing with us? You said how you got into it, but share with us a little bit more going beyond just what you've done to help others, maybe how the program has helped you.
Before the program, well, there wasn't much of an internet actually, or Facebook. I've got, I don't know, 700 or 800 friends now. 600 or 700 are from John's program. And we all communicate together. We all remember each other in our worst and our best moments. Yeah, what I didn't expect that. I just wanted to ride from San Francisco to LA and find out who these guys that volunteered. My father, my uncles were all World War II. I'm a pre-boomer. I'm 81. So my military experience, although I wasn't in it, I was shined my dad's shoes a lot for his drill. Right. So yeah, I'm all with that. It's a great program, and to have these folks in my RV, and I think what helped them was it was a neutral space. There was no judgment whatsoever in any of this. If you wanted to leave, maybe they were anxious. A lot of them couldn't sleep with a partner. They all had a roommate, but a lot of them couldn't sleep with someone else because they hadn't healed yet in their heads. So they'd stay all night in the RV. Some would sleep in there. Some would come and go in and out. We'd have chairs all lined all outside. They go and sit there and smoke cigarettes and whatever, just to make it through the night so they could ride their bike at the morning. That's kind of an insight as to the mood that that was going on at the time. And every single person was a little different. One was different than another person. Some of them cracked jokes. They could tell stories forever, like Myron Cohen, and then others would just shut up and they would just be there. There was one fellow just stared straight ahead, never said a word, just stared straight ahead like a zombie or something. He doesn't do that anymore. He's as laughable, but that program did it. And what did it? I think, I'm talking about JW. It took 6 or 7 years to get that transition going, but he didn't give up. We're not giving up on him. I'm not the only civilian that was in that program either. There were plenty of them, and they all tried. You don't go in there with a plan. I had no plan whatsoever. My plan was to have the RV. I had a crew, and we were going to do a video, and I promised John I'd do that, and they were giving him cash. They didn't have the cash. I was retired already. He said, "Sure, come along." That was my plan. What happened to me personally and to all the others was totally different than what I had planned. Yeah, we did the videos and all that, but what I got out of it is I'm 81 and still having fun, still riding my bike, still doing aqua aerobics. Yeah.
So it actually gave you new purpose, or defined. We all find our purpose at different times in our lives.
When you retire, I had my own business. I'm self-driven, but what I had in mind for my retirement is nowhere close to what I did in my retirement.
You're not retired anymore.
I think it started, I was 62, and I think it was 64 when I started with John's program. So it's a couple of years I was bored with not doing anything, and then this ride came along. I'd always been a bike rider, doing some exercise, but I'm not an athlete by any chance. I'm not a racer like John was. I'm just a guy that can barely make it up the hill like everyone else. So there was nothing special about Dick that brought him to this bike ride, except I wanted to know what these people were like. And I thought I could keep up with them because most of them were injured. But the first mile and a half, the first hill in San Francisco came up, I was dropped on that hill by P.A.D. Collins, who's a colonel with one leg, in her 40s at that time, I think. And she dropped me going up the hill. I had to get off my bike. She winded me so much, I couldn't stay on my bike anymore. I let her, I played by her rules, and I should have slowed down so I could make it up the whole way, but I didn't. My ego got in the way and it killed me. I walked up that hill. I was the first mile and a half or 2 miles in the ride. I said, "Uh-oh, I'm in trouble."
Yeah, but there was a lot of people like that. Dick, talk a little bit about like your own personal health and like what did you decide like when you knew that you got diagnosed with type 2 diabetes and yet you don't take insulin?
Oh, wow.
You talking to me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's,
Okay.
wow.
Well, my doctor was going to put me on meds, and I said, "Yeah, I don't want any meds." Everyone in my family that I look like or take out, they've all died with heart conditions, and they all had diabetes. So I was a little worried about that. But the doctor said, "I'm just going to put down control through exercise and diet, and not give you any meds." And I've never taken meds for type 2 diabetes, but I did, and I still have it. It's not bad. I think the sugar is like 220 or something. It's not awful, but it's type 2 diabetes. And what I do, and my lovely wife helps me with that, she gardens. I eat nothing but real food, first of all. no processed food.
Yeah.
All the vegetables are garden vegetables. Everything is real. No snacking. I don't need to because I eat keto. I found keto. It's another thing. You got to find what works for you.
Yep.
Everyone's different. I'm not recommending anything. I can only say what happens to Dick. And that is keto it brought me from the most I weighed in my life, which was 209 pounds, down to 165 in about 6 months. And just changing my diet, not changing anything else in my life,
Yeah.
just what I ate. I used to
But
be a
that takes
carb burner.
discipline, right? That takes
It takes
choice, and it
discipline.
takes
It takes discipline, and
Right.
it takes someone who's willing to help you with the food. My wife had to change what she cooked, but you need. My body I was a carb burner. I had to have goo, they call it, which is a gel you take. You see the pro riders take it all the time. Every half hour, I had to have one. A couple hundred grams of carbs, or I would have died off the bike. I just had to keep feeding it. I changed that totally to where I work my bicycle off of fat now. 70% of my diet is fat. Keto is 70% fat, 20% protein, and 10% carbs.
They're
You're never
good
hungry.
fats, though.
The good fats.
Yep.
The real fats. We're talking avocado oil and the butter. It's real good stuff.
Grass-fed,
And
grass-finish.
Yeah, and I don't have any trouble whatsoever with controlling the type 2 diabetes. I had to have, when I hit 72, I had to have a couple of stents put in. And that's just part of my genes. Wasn't because of lifestyle. Came back in 30 days riding the bike 100, 150 miles a week. No problem. Because when you go in good shape, you're going to get in good shape faster when you come out of these operations. And I made a list of things that happened. I'm 81 and having fun. But since I was 69, 3 stents, 3 back operations, a neck fusion, a hip from an accident, and an eye replacement in the last 10 years. I'm still riding my bicycle 100 or more miles a week, and I do 4 days a week. I do aqua aerobics because I don't like to stretch. And in aqua aerobics, you got to stretch, and I need somebody to tell me.
Joshua is sharing Coach Juan, the reaction of Coach Juan, because this is just like, this is the best. Look at this support, the camaraderie. This is awesome. This is what community does for you.
He's my guy.
Listen, we had a shirts off. Remember shirts off?
Shirts off.
Shirts off.
We did some crazy stuff, but it gets down into like what we always talk about: mindset, motivation, mission, right? So you got the right mindset, you get motivated, either self-motivated or motivated by each other. And we had a mission, right? We had to ride from one place to the next.
Yeah. It's interesting though, Seabass, that we talked to we have a world-renowned diabetes reversal doctor who's our chief medical officer, and he always says the best diet that you can choose is the diet you are going to stick with. They all work, but they will only work if you stick with it. So choosing the diet that you did, choosing the keto, and that's what actually we started out with. And then we shifted it with my dad, who also had pre-diabetes type 2, and then went into heart disease. And we went from keto to more kind of balance between that and Mediterranean.
Mediterranean,
Yep. And he ended up just having a PET scan. He's also a military veteran, captain in the Navy. Very proud of it, proud of him. Thankful for all who served. And he ended up with a PET scan, a PET scan of his heart just last week. And for the first time in years, he was not ischemic in his heart. There was no ischemia. His stents were all cleared. And the big thing was his diet, the olive oil, the early harvest, hand-picked, cold-pressed, extra virgin olive oil, the avocados, the wild salmon. He still had his grass-fed, grass-finished steak and his grass-fed, grass-finished butter, but lots and lots of green vegetables as well. And it's amazing what your diet will do and the impact that you have. And Brianna said it best earlier. You are what you eat, right, Brianna?
Yes.
It's just,
100%.
it's so in, right?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, it's you feel if you feel like crap on the outside, it's because of what you're putting into your body. So you have to start with from within, and it will definitely reflect on the outside.
And Seabass, how has your experience in, I imagine that you were diagnosed with type 2 after you had already started helping out with the journey of others through Life Aid, and even meeting Coach One. Suddenly you get this diagnosis, right? Probably a little bit. I'd love for you to bring us back to the moment of that diagnosis, and then also taking us to where you kind of made that decision. Hey, if these guys can do it, heck, so can I.
Yeah, for sure. That's pretty much the way it's done. I've known hundreds of people that were in really miserable conditions that controlled those conditions, fixed them for themselves and for their families. And the families, they all suffer when the military guy comes back to suffer, and the families are all suffering along with it. Yeah. So I made a database of I've got about 170 foods in it now that I like, that are okay for me to eat, and I built a spreadsheet that lets me search for stuff really quickly. It has all the calories, all the percentages of fat and everything. I got graphs going on. I like to do that stuff, to keep my mind sharp. I do that stuff I don't know how to do very well. But I can go there and just give my wife these things. She's got a book, tells her in her own words. My wife's Korean, so we've got a communication issue. So she's got a book that tells her what to do in her words, and I get fed the food that I want. I've always got variety. You talked about the salmon, the avocados I have every day. She makes avocado bread for me. I'll have it for lunch. It's a bread that's made only with avocados, and you use it. And I mean, avocados are perfect fat, perfect for keto. So they slap that there and some real meat and maybe some mayo or an egg, a fried egg, whatever. And that's a great small lunch, 500 calories. Not a problem
Yeah.
staying 600 calories when you're eating like that.
That avocado bread is so smart. So how we do it, when I make it for my dad, I do smash up avocados with a little bit of egg and a little bit of Parmesan cheese, and I just
Some
mash it
binders,
on up. Is that yours too? And it is delicious. It's really satisfying.
It's so satisfying. You don't need to snack. There is no snacking if you've got all that fat in your body, and talking about that, people would cringe, but don't. It's good stuff. That's your
It's
body.
good fat.
You get fat from carbs or energy from carbs and energy from fat. Energy from carbs is fast. If you're a fast twitch guy and a sprinter, you're going to have a lot of carbs because you need energy immediately right now. If you're an athlete like I am, or a guy, not an athlete actually, but just a rider, don't have any fast twitch muscles in my body, I don't believe. Fat is just fine. I can get all my energy from that fat, and I can go all day. It doesn't 100 miles a day. I could do it today. I could do it with no meal. I've got so much fat.
And I think that that's so smart. I think that we have been trained, from a very young age. And, I was an athlete as well, and you got a carb load, but you have discovered that even with your athletics, carb loading really led to type 2 diabetes, and you had to shift and train your body to use what we had from the very beginning, which was fat. And exactly.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And
Yeah.
a good part of that was on these rides. I'd see these folks who are all younger. I mean, they most of them were at that time, they were active veterans that came over. So they were not even 30, most of them. They were in their early 20s to maybe, I don't know, maybe 30 or something like that. So I saw them gaining weight over a
Yeah.
600 or 700-mile bicycle ride over 6 or 7 days. And I'm saying to myself, what the heck is wrong with this picture?
Oh,
These people are working hard every day, and they're eating 3 meals, but not huge meals, and they're gaining weight. I couldn't figure that out. So I had to do the research, which I did. And I saw Bob Forster at Phase 4, who's an Olympic physical therapist, and he's got 42 gold medals for people, including Allison Felix and Bobby Joyner Kersey, and Bobby Kersey, the coach. He's a fantastic resource. He taught me how to eat, gave me ideas. I tried different ideas. I found what worked for my body. You got to take a chance. You just can't say, well, that didn't work, so I'll go back to what I was doing. You just got to keep taking chances and find out what your body is all about regarding food, and then you'll stick with that.
I love that.
It's a
you
beautiful
know.
journey
I love
for
that.
sure. Everybody's different. So you have
Yes.
to find what works for you.
Yeah. Because you talked about it earlier, Brianna, because you were talking about how you're Mexican, and being Latino is very different. The food is very different, and it's very like heavy, but like having to understand that you have to switch, because I had to alternate, like just switch how I consume, and just even mentally, you have to think about like what you're doing with the food you're intaking. Is it more for pleasure or is it more for energy? Because when we're in a ride, when we were eating for energy. We weren't eating for pleasure, in a sense of like how you go to a restaurant and you're eating more for like, oh, we're celebrating something, we're eating for pleasure, compared to like, hey, I'm gonna go do a bike ride with John Wordin, and we're gonna go for like whatever. I can't have that same type of food or that same type of thing, because it's like Seabass was saying, people were getting bigger, but then we had to think about how, like, the food, and that's something this program thought about all from the beginning, because they're like, okay, we thought let's do the ride, but then somebody's like, hey, but look what you're feeding. Oh, you're right. Then we started thinking about the food. Then we started thinking about, okay, what's the dinner going to be for the ride in the morning? And then you started getting all these people collectively coming together and just understanding, like, we are doing something great here, and we need to think
yeah.
about every aspect: the ride, the route, the people helping out, even logistics of like, where's the food come from, who's picking it up, then even preparing it. Oh, this person has this. We had people that had different diet things that we had to worry about too as well. So he, like, the program was built upon each other, and then we all
Yeah.
helped.
And when you say that the program was built upon each other, I would imagine Coach One, which before we end, you're going to have to say what you coach. But Coach One, when you found out that Seabass developed type 2 diabetes, and what was that dynamic? Did it shift the dynamic in your relationship? Because it sounds as though he was really inspired by you and what you had done as well. And it gave him some hope that, hey, you know what? If he can do it, so can I.
Yeah,
Let's take
and
this shit
it's a back
down.
and forth. It's a back and forth, because when I found this out and everything, I remember I called him up. I made a conscious more effort to reach out to him, and I even
Yep.
asked him, like, can I come out to LA and see you? Because so I coach volleyball, and I'm trying to play beach volleyball. I was in LA in the Manhattan Beach tournament, and I got to stay at his house in the van, which brought a lot of memories, and just
Yeah.
that was such a great time just to like sit down and be able to eat food, and then we watched movies together. We watched 2 movies together, and just reconnecting.
Yeah.
And in the sense too, and I don't want to be morbid or whatever, but like, I know I only have so much time with him in this world, so I'm gonna cut out a little bit of time that I can to go see him,
Mhm.
because he meant a lot to me. Same thing with John. John meant a lot to me, because if you really want to get to it, we lost connection And then I reconnected with John a couple of years ago, and I said, "Hey, man, I'm gonna try to do everything I can to help you and what you're doing." And we're here now, and I continue because these people have done a lot for me. So in that turn, the way I think it's like I gotta be able to help them and give them back, but always also take the time to just be with them because we're going through this part of our life where we are seeing people we love and we lose people we love, and we got to make sure we make that time, even if it's, hey, I'm gonna go out for 2 days, can I come see you for an hour?
Yeah.
Then I'm gonna come see you for an hour because
So I'm not sure that this question is going to come out right. So you can take it where you want. You know, when it comes to community and you end up with some sort of diagnosis or you have something going on in your life and you're seeking support, you have choices out there, especially with social media, so many different networks of people out there. And you have groups and communities that are all about reaffirming your diagnosis, and you know, patients leading patients and looking for affirmation for what they've done and telling you to do what they're doing, and then it doesn't work for you, and then you have misery loves company where everyone is just taking each other down a rabbit hole all the time.
yep, 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 yep.
You know, how do you help other people find the right communities such as what you found with Life Aid Hope that help to meet you where you are, but hold that light for you to help you create the change and strive to be that light they're shining on you, if that makes sense.
Accountability. John John was accountability. He taught me accountability. Seabass, accountability. Because a lot of it was, yeah, we have this program and everything, but it wasn't like, hey, we're gonna sad story. We're gonna hold you accountable. And they held every single soldier accountable, even if from the top to the bottom, they held everybody accountable. I feel like there's not a sense of accountability. If you don't feel like you're growing, if you don't feel like there's no nothing being pushed, then you need to like take a step back and be like, probably not the right one, or like move. And I understand it's hard because nowadays, I heard a great quote this morning, which people are like, oh, people are more connected online, but less connected because they were talking about video games. And like back in the day, we played with each other right next to each other. We would play here, but now it's online, and it's like, oh, they're so connected, but people are still lonely because it doesn't matter if we're playing online. That part of just being there, that was a big part. It
Yep.
it could I could have never been able to like, hey, I don't know who you are, Seabass, but connect through phone or through computer. But me being there, seeing, having him, and when he said it earlier, having him put his hand on my back and push me up the hill and help me, made me understand that he had my back. And a lot of military guys, when we get out, the problem that we have is that once we're out, nobody has our six, and that means our back. Usually I'm here, and if you're in front of me, I have your back. Nobody, it feels like nobody has our back. But when we were in this program, when you're struggling and you get that hand, it isn't like, oh, I got to. It's like, somebody has my back. We're gonna push through this together.
Yeah.
You can see. I think there was a great picture. I don't know how many it was, but there was a picture of like 5 people just on like back on back on back. It was the best picture ever. I don't know if John still has it, but like that's an awesome picture to have because you just saw what this program was about with all 5 of the people just pushing each other. Even the guys in the cycle, we even made bars to push them up the hill. And being one of the guys that got to be honored to help push, I went from being pushed to pushing.
Yes.
And
Yes.
if you find a community where you are at the beginning being pushed, and then you turn around and are able to help and push somebody else, that's what it's about.
I love that. And that's the relationship, I think, the dynamic now also between Coach Juan and Seabass, right? You
Yes.
push and you get pushed. You push
Yes.
and you get pushed.
Yes.
I love
Yeah,
it. Well,
and thanks
thanks.
for painting that picture, because I never really thought about it like that. Like I've never been close to, veterans or people in the military. It's always been like very far outreach for me. But yeah, like to assimilate back into the real world after serving and like knowing that somebody has your back and having that sense of community, try to assimilate back into the world where it feels like everybody's just out for their own and just, nobody has your back is actually pretty difficult to like wrap my head around. Like, no wonder you hear so many stories about veterans who come back and they're kind of like, trying to fit in again or trying to find their voice or their place in this, world. Like that's actually very eye-opening. So thank you for that, because I never really thought about it that way.
You're welcome, and I'm happy. I'm happy to have shared that with you.
Yeah, no,
And
that's
Brianna,
amazing.
you're exactly right. I see that with my dad, even still to this day, with his military buddies, the people that were on the ship with him, the people that he ended up when there was enemy fire and he ducked under, the bridge or whatever was there to protect them. They were together, and have that someone always had their back. And you transition into civilian life, and it's really hard because the culture is not the same in so many fronts. So JW and providing a, kind of the same culture in civilian life is critical to that assimilation and the success that both of you have achieved in being a part of this community. And JW, for other people who want to be a part of your community, would you wrap us up here and share with us again where people can get the support that they need through Life Aid Hope?
Yeah, the best way to do it is just go to our website, lifeaidhope.org, and you can get connected there. We have a variety of groups where people can connect to one another and just pipe in, and there's always people that will respond. I mean, we have some of the most vocal chat groups probably on the internet. I always tell everybody, make sure you put your notifications on mute because otherwise it gets a little overwhelming. But everybody looks after each other, and like they were saying, everybody comes to the program thinking they're alone and that no one else understands what they're dealing with.
Yeah.
No one understands. They're angry. They're dealing with all the stress of dealing with the medical situation and all the doctors giving them different opinions and multiple surgeries or multiple clinicians depending on what you were dealing with. And then you come out here and it's like Dick was saying, there's no judgment. Everybody gets treated the same. And we look after each other. You treat them the same, but you still have to treat them a little different because everybody's got different things going on. But you treat them how you need to treat them to make them feel welcome is, I guess, the bottom line.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thank you for sharing your stories. Congratulations
Thank
on
you.
your success. Hopefully, we can do this again and continue to update, on your journeys, and also be able to help inspire so many others as well. If you're tuning in right here on YouTube, make sure you do subscribe to our channel, youtube.com/the way to my heart for the Global P.A.D. Association, but also make sure you navigate over to youtube.com/the Life Aid Hope for more great content like this. Thanks everyone for joining us.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
having us.